We are back with another Pants on Fire with George Santos. And it is I, yours truly, George Santos, with my beautiful co-host, Naja Hall.
Hey, George. How are you today? For real.
No.
How are you?
I'm good, but are you ready?
No.
Liar, pants on fire. Liar, pants on fire.
For all of our younger Zers, our Gen Zers watching and listening, our younger audience, you might have never heard of a production called Girls Gone Wild and then subsequently Boys Gone Wild. But it's
Guys Gone Wild.
It wasn't guys the gay
Was it
version.
girls?
But it was girls and boys.
I think it was girls and guys. Well,
Boys Gone Wild. There's no way they called it Boys Gone Wild. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure
they called it girls.
Yeah, but Boys Gone Wild is...
At any rate, Girls Gone Wild was the most popular one. That's probably
Let's
what.
just stick to Girls Gone
And
Wild.
you're a young child, but I'm old enough to remember.
No, I'm old enough to remember the commercials.
So you
late
would
at
see
night.
the commercials?
Yeah, if I stayed up past bedtime,
Yes.
boom, and I knew I was in trouble at that point.
Yeah.
So let's preface this to all of you listeners. Joe Francis, the creator of Girls Gone Wild, this predates OnlyFans. So like this is like VHS ordering through a
You have to call a phone number
1-800 number.
and order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Order the cassette or
Yep.
the DVD
Yep.
probably a few years after that.
Yep.
Order the DVD and then you have access to all these cutesy blondies flashing their boobies and
it was
maybe a
all
little
like-
bit more.
Like spring break type stuff. Like it was
Yes.
nuts. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy. So
And might I add that I'm pretty sure they advertised that it would come in discreet packaging.
yes, because
Really?
that was very taboo. Oh my God, yes.
Oh,
Can you imagine? So let's get to the point
Your
of it. Like,
granddad getting a Girls Gone Wild DVD in the mail. That's like, wait, so discretion makes sense.
so just imagine this. Like we really got to go with this as in this is a new category at the time. It's really groundbreaking. People are trying to figure this out. Like it's like it had never been done. So obviously you're going to get a lot of hate from that industry.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to get hate from the Pearl Clutchers Anonymous USA, and you're going to get hate, right? In the center of this all is a founder, Joe Francis. Now, Joe Francis, no stranger to controversy, no stranger to litigation, no stranger to pretty much anything. And, I find it amazing that all these years later, he's yet back again in the news. And Peacock just came out with this 3-part special documentary. And it's big investment for them. And it's a big one. Clearly, he's not happy.
It's an unauthorized one.
Well,
He-
there's no such thing as unauthorized, right? Like you're a public figure, they can have at it, right? It's just like without his input.
Right.
That's the correct way to say that. But let's put it this way. After all those years recording, videos of girls flashing their, boobs and going ham, allegations started pouring in that some of them were underage, some of them weren't really comfortable with their images being out there, and there was a lot of turmoil, lots of legal. I mean,
a lot of questions about consent.
a lot about that, and then obviously it generated the buzz of how he treats women. Now, it's fair to say, in his defense, and I'm not trying to defend him, but in his defense, he has had multiple trials, and they were adjudicated, but a lot of accusations loom. Is this now going to be the revival and the rebirth of more litigation?
Yeah.
And with cases like this, Naja, I've learned one thing. We need to take it at face value.
Yeah.
And it's vibe check. It's like, look, is he a choir boy? No.
I don't think so.
No, I can guarantee he's not a choir boy. But I can say one thing is, let's see what he has to say. Let's explore this, because look, this is definitely, we're old enough to know this. For the Gen Zers, I'm not suggesting you go Google this, but take what we just told you at face value. And again, I'm going to lead with saying, viewer discretion advised. Let's just get to it and bring Joe Francis into a little screen here with us and get this going.
Joe Francis, come on down.
Joe Francis, you're a legend. You're an icon. You're a lot of things, allegedly, and as somebody who's got, you too, I know, right? As somebody who's walked through the valley of fire, I want to say, first of all, growing up it was impossible to not know what Girls Gone Wild was, right? Like, I joke about that till this day. I'll like take my t-shirt up all of a sudden and middle friends are like, woo! And I'll just like, like go nuts because it's funny. Like, if I stayed up past, going to bedtime, accidentally those ads came on and I'm like, ooh, if my mom walks in this room, I'm in so much trouble because this is on the TV.
Joe, just the sheer amount of marketing genius that you've been credited with. How in the heck did you create this huge thing? How?
Well, it was from, come on. I was a 22-year-old, 23-year-old young straight male.
Hot stud.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so muk, George. That's really polite. That's really nice of you. I'm flattered. And I did, I loved women and I loved them more, Naja, when they were naked.
Okay.
And that was the genesis of the idea. And, it's very simple, but it was just, that. And that is, I think, our simple desire that drives us all in every aspect of our lives. And that's where I went.
Well,
and
look,
it wasn't around. Reality wasn't, remember, there was no reality television yet. There was no reality yet. So I created this genre where I was showing like real women and eventually real men naked on television for the first time.
I missed
now,
the men part of that.
Yeah, they did the guys.
The Guys Gone Wild.
I never watched that. Damn it.
That was later. How many
I don't
years
know
after?
if I believe you, George.
No, seriously, no. I would say it. I would.
Isn't
totally
the
say
show called Liar, Liar?
No, it's
not-
Pants on Fire with George Santos. Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire.
So
is
then
a
how many
song.
years after Girls Gone Wild did you start Guys Gone Wild? Because there's a big gap between.
I did. I started Guys Gone Wild because there was that market. And I hired people from who had done that before and ran that part of the business. And it was great. It was a great success. 80% of the audience, the buyers and viewers were gay men and 20% were women. For a gay guy, the hot straight guy is the most desirable thing. And the hot straight guy that you can't get. So that's
a fact.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
So like the unattainable.
For most gay men, the unattainable seems to be what they go for, and that's why most gay men live a very painful life of suffrage. I am so like. First of all, I was married to a woman. I was attracted to females. I like guys. I kind of suppressed the feeling, whatever. But I will say this: I never set myself up for suffrage, meaning I never said, "Oh, there's this one straight guy. I'm platonically in love with him, and I'm going to pursue this until it happens." Because it's not. You're going to live a very miserable life. I have friends who live that life, and it's so unfortunate. But as a selling point, it's genius what you did.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure everybody knows you or has seen your handiwork. When would you say?
Handiwork.
What were the pinnacle years of Girl Gone
How
Wild?
should I take that?
When was it at its hottest? Like, when do you think you reached the height? What year?
The height of Girls Gone Wild was probably, I would say, 2010, 2008, like, I mean, those were but then I wanted to kill it after that anyways. Like, I wasn't interested in running it past 40 because, I mean, you saw them. I felt the market changing, not the market, but just the environment. And it was visceral. So I felt that coming and I wanted to get out of that business before that happened. And it really did change with, all of this Me Too thing and then the other thing. And, it's another conversation.
With the advent of cell phone footage, now we all can make our own version of Girls Gone Wild. So
the crazy thing is the hypocrisy around everything. And I'm going to just cut right through it, Joe, because I sympathize with you. And I want you to take the opportunity as somebody who's been the subject now of numerous documentaries without my input, and the one that I actually gave my input is being stonewalled because, I gave my input.
Right.
Trial by media is so much more effective than people understand. You don't stand a chance by the time you actually get to the adjudication process. But let me ask you a question. I want to open it this way for you, right? let's unpack the Peacock documentary, because I'm sure you
Yeah.
watched it, and you should,
Yeah.
because you need to prepare yourself. And let's unpack it here so
Yeah,
our viewers
let's
can
unpack it.
understand that. Because I think you're a human being that's now just being smeared beyond, belief through the media with your mouth wide open. And guess what? I just went through that last year, so I know
Yeah.
the feeling. So I want to have this dialogue. I want to ask questions.
Yeah.
Hey, we can. I can play. I can play. We can
ask
hang.
me,
Let's go through a
and we're
list
gonna hang,
of-
and we're gonna have so much fun. But let's
Yeah,
let's
what's
go
the most
everywhere.
false
Like,
thing when you saw the documentary, Joe? You were like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
is a bald-faced lie." What's that first thing that you think of?
I mean, like, can I just say there's 95% of it, because I mean, they have the documents, they have the documentation, or it's easily Googleable. And to accuse me of things that I didn't do constantly and all the way through, and say that somehow in this 500-person company, independent contractors, cameramen that didn't even work for me, I had some direct control over, was just absurd. Because there was an HBO documentary, I don't know if you saw it, last year, and there have been 2 other documentaries unauthorized about me, and George has been through this, so you understand. And to be called a rapist in one of them, and then, of course, I took legal action, and because I was acquitted by a grand jury. We've both been through the federal system. And
I'm still going through it, Joe, so I can't really talk too much about it.
I know, but I bet you're happy about the election, right?
Allegedly.
Time to go Republican.
Are you
George.
happy about the election, Joe?
I am. I've known Donald Trump since the 90s. I've been friends with him. He asked me to appear in Celebrity Apprentice many years ago. I was neighbors with Elon Musk for 13 years in Bel Air, and Elon and I were best friends and always traveled together and always spent a lot of time. And yeah, I think
Are they
that's
going
a
to be able
great
to help
team.
you come back to the country? Because these are the homies.
Look, I can come back to the country. Now, there's another thing that
so let's
bothers
clear that
me,
up.
right?
Mhm.
So yeah, so in all of these documents, if you go to abbywilson.com, which is my ex's name, you can see this. Like, this is why I don't come back. But they were so afraid to show these documents to where she's accused me of all these horrible things, like beating her, raping her, all these in the state of Oklahoma, which I've never been to, by the way. And she kidnapped my children from Mexico and took them to the United States. Now, they have all this. It's on abbywilson.com. Those are all legal documents. They're the ones that are in Spanish, or because my kids are Mexican, they were born in Mexico, are translated into English. I have full custody of my daughters. I really hated that the documentary called, if you have kids, apparently it's called reputational laundering now. Children, they called my
insane.
children reputational laundering. Obviously, I've never raped anybody. I mean, I've dated Paris Hilton, Kourtney Kardashian, every celebrity
Dated
known
Paris
to me.
Hilton.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan.
I do need the laundry list.
I
of
love
people.
that woman, by
I
the
think
way.
it'll be a shorter list of people that Joe has not dated, because I've read some pretty.
Me?
Well, not yet, George. Come on. We just met a few weeks ago. I mean,
So let's put a pin in
I
that
mean,
one.
no courtship anymore. Is that what it is?
You got to take me out
Come
to
on.
dinner. You gotta
So to
take me out
clear
to
it
dinner,
up-
Joe.
I'm
So to
not
clear
going
it
to
up,
let
Joe,
you go
you
to
can't-
jail without a little bit of
So to clear it up, you can legally re-enter the United States.
Of course, I'm an American citizen. Of
Mhm.
course.
Okay.
But right now, I don't want to be, George knows, like, I don't want to go through a trial in a system and publicity.
Right.
Yeah.
What this woman has, because I already went through that in Mexico. As soon as I had full custody, my ex, Abby Wilson, took my kids to the US and tried the same game plan.
Come get your
It's
absolutely kids.
insane.
No.
Like, I think
I would
you should come
I
get
would
your
love to.
kids. You should.
I would love to.
I hope
Yeah.
you do. I take you at face value. Look, here's the deal with somebody like you, Joe, is your shit was so out there with Girls Gone Wild. Like, I don't think you have to lie about anything, right? It's
No.
you're like transparent. So it's like, for me, it's
I don't
just
feel
like,
bad. I'm not crying. I
Yeah,
don't
like,
feel bad for any of these
these
people who sign releases, and you were adults and you made adult decisions,
I saw
And it's
somebody,
like,
I think somebody say that after the women would do this, they experienced a lot of regret, and they're all probably now in their 40s, maybe 50s, or grandmas now, and there's still this digital imprint on there. So do you think a lot of the accusations that are starting to happen is because they're like, I regret doing that, or I just wasn't paid for doing that?
look, I think it's number one because the makers of this documentary put advertising out against me. Is anybody has any information or any stories about Joe Francis? And they only found this amount of people. So, and anyone they interviewed, obviously, who was in my favor, they nixed out. And I obviously didn't appear in this documentary. But hey, people feel bad about a lot of shit. Like, hey, that's life, right? Like, what does she say? I'm 20 years old. I signed a release. Nobody told me to do it. I'm certainly not tied to it. I've never met this woman. She says that. And then she shows her breasts and gave verbal permission. They're asking her why she didn't sue, because she signed legal contracts. She was of age. She had plenty of time to call the company and get it removed, which we had a policy like that within 90 days. And she never did. And now we're supposed to all of a sudden feel bad about this. I'm sure you're going to have regrets sometimes. You post, you go on a reality show, you go on The Bachelor, you do a lot of things in life, but you're an adult. Yeah.
let me ask you. So Joe, let me ask you a quick question. The digital footprint of Girls Gone Wild isn't even as vast as some of the thirst traps that some of these people use on Instagram right now. Or OnlyFans, right? So it's like, for people to try to come up today and be like, I have deep regrets. My life has changed. I'm like, lady, there's people now literally selling.
But I think this goes along with the times were different argument that you have supported in some other instances. So times were different then because we didn't have an Instagram back then. There was no way for a person to self-exploit.
There was.
And maybe Joe had Joe was
I gave them a vehicle.
How much did you pay these people, Joe? How much were they given to flash and titties?
Well, most of them got a hat or a T-shirt.
Damn.
That's it? No, I don't want to. I was ready to flash.
Some people got money, of course. Some people who were paid models got money because you had to pay them, or were the union, you had to pay them. But those, for the most part, it was people doing it because there was no way to expose yourself and make yourself famous. There was no Twitter. There was no Instagram. X, Elon. Apologize.
I catch myself doing that too. Like, careful.
Yeah,
you'll have an axe of grand with you if you call it Twitter.
I bought the first Tesla from Elon. And he delivered it personally. So I bought it for $100,000 in cash, but he delivered the car to me personally in 2008. So 4 years later. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now, I have a dumb question.
I should have bought the stock.
Well, not a dumb question, because there's no such thing as a dumb question. But for people that are not, that have not seen the TV show, they know Joe Francis as the
hit piece.
They know Joe Francis as the Girls Gone Wild guy, but who's also associated with being friends and canoodling with a bunch of people that are super famous right now. Do you still have those relationships with those famous people?
He was on Instagram just with Mario Lopez.
Or do they keep a distance from you? Because I haven't seen a lot of people publicly supporting you since all of this stuff has happened.
Well, come on. George knows this the best.
Friends call you and text you. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly. George, tell her how it is. This is the cut and run era, I'm going to call it, because it used to be that all the things, and George, I loved what you said walking out of that courthouse. Two things, actually. I loved the first thing you said is you mentioned just that, it's like, come on. And the second thing you said, well, I'm going to, because they're all doing it, and I'm going to expose every one of these guys. And that's what I've always wanted to hear from you. I want to hear what.
Oh, there's a whole documentary that was produced that's being cock-blocked from being exposed. I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. I spoke in truth to power with receipts, and it's out there.
Can you expose anybody, Joe? Is there anybody can you expose anybody? Is there anybody that you're willing to share that deserves for their name to be known, just like your name is known in an infamous way now?
No, I mean, I really said there's the kidnapper of my children. Then that's the person that I exposed. But
okay,
look, no one should be treated with a hit piece.
No, I agree.
I'm a nice guy. I mean, my sister calls me. My sister's like, you know what, Joe? The problem is you're just such an easy target because they can just do this narrative, and it's old because I'm doing my own documentary right now with Universal and Netflix. And Mario Lopez is an executive producer who you mentioned. So yes, my friends are not cutting and running.
He's so hot.
Yeah. He's
My
a great
husband's not
looking
gonna
guy,
like that,
isn't he?
He's a
but-
good looking
well, he's
dude.
50 years
He's
old.
maintained
like,
himself.
51.
freaking has
51.
dimples and still looks good.
Right.
I saw
He
him
looks
at a
great.
party.
He
and,
still looks.
He looked great.
He looks like
mean,
that in person.
Barone was just saying he saw him at a party and he still looks great. And,
Wow.
And I gotta
He
say,
looks perfect.
like, are you kidding? Like, we were just joking. We're like, wait, is that him with Mario Lopez on
Lopez, yeah.
on Instagram?
Well,
Right.
Mario's got to come. You got to have Mario on the show. I'm sure
I would
he'd love to do it.
Oh, he would love
I'm sure
that.
he'd love to do it. Nobody
He
doesn't ask
would-
me. Oh, yeah.
No
You-
idea. I
So,
would love
Joe,
that,
it
Mario.
seems like your
I
biggest.
you know what? Mario would love to do the show shirtless. That's his favorite position to be in. He doesn't like to wear a shirt. Him and I've been friends for 35 years. I'm afraid to age myself, but I mean, he will not wear a shirt.
You look great.
Like,
What are you talking about? Look, I'm going to venture to say you're probably late 40s, early 50s, like Mario.
Well, he's been friends with
You
Mario,
look
so if we do some
great.
math,
Yeah, Mario
then-
and I are brothers. We're exactly the same age. But
Okay.
we're
You
more
look
like
great.
brothers.
Like if you're
And best
51,
friends.
like I need to get on what you're doing because that's my aspiration. I
Yeah.
want to be young forever.
Aw, you are.
I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
So,
with your
okay.
Botox.
So Joe, can we go there for a second?
But everybody's doing it. Everyone's doing it.
Okay, Joe. Let's
Yes.
go here for a second. I can see one of the biggest gripes out of all the people that we mentioned is with the kid's mom. It seems like this is like out of all of this is a person that you have the biggest gripe with. I want to know, what is the current custody arrangement? What does it say on paper?
Oh, that I have full custody of my
Full
twin daughter.
physical
In Mexico,
custody?
though, right?
But full total custody. But you can't go to another country. Like, she doesn't have any custody. She's just in the United States, keeping me from seeing them with this restraining order and fake criminal charges. That's her strategy. And it's not going to work because I'm not. Look, my kids are going to come back. My kids love me. Her whole thing is, she wants to be with me, and that's not going to happen.
Do you
as
think
part
after all of this, that woman still wants you?
That's what she says all the time. It's ridiculous.
When's the
I
last
think
time
it's
she said
crazy.
that, Joe?
On a text message, maybe 3 nights ago.
Is she the one who burned the house down?
Well, insurance doesn't cover arson. You know that.
But in a criminal case,
That's a non-denial, but I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I don't wanna-
I take what I get,
But,
Joe.
like,
I take what I
timing-
fucking get.
But the timing was impeccable, don't you
Yeah.
think? Because there was a lien for the insurance put on the day before. So unless my lawyer said, unless you're Captain Coincidence.
I'll leave it at this for you. I really do hope the truth prevails and you get to see your girls again and they get to experience their dad again in their life. I think, this is a sad situation to be in and it sucks. And I can't even put myself in your position. I mean, and I don't want to go and equate like, when I travel and I'm away from my dogs, I go nuts because I don't want to demean your kids to dogs, but I love my dogs. So that's the closest I can get
I don't
to
feel
this.
like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't think any parent should be put in that position. Kids benefit more from the father in their upbringing than the mother because the mothers tend to, and I say this from personal experience, tend to bend to the will of their kids, and fathers are more stern and they build us more resilient and really guide us and are a bigger part of our compass. I'm not saying that that's a rule.
This is your
Barone
personal
disagrees.
experience.
No, but I agree with that.
He says
me,
personal
my,
experience.
my children, I'm weak.
You're-
and my wife is
but
strong.
They have you wrapped around
I
their
have
little
a girl
finger.
and a boy, and I just melt.
Yeah, you see, my dad didn't melt. My dad was a stern son of a bitch, but he was absent from my life from the moment I was 9 years old on. So, and my mom bended to every single one of my vices and wills as a kid. So creating less limitation. So I always try to maybe look at that through my purview and
that's
saying
your
like, I feel like if
experience.
my dad wasn't such an asshole when I was a kid and didn't divorce his kids instead of just my mom, I would have probably turned out a little less chaotic. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, maybe my dad was definitely not like you. So
How old were you when your parents got divorced?
9, and my dad was absent from my life at that point, and by his choice. And I didn't speak to my dad for like 10, 11 years.
Ooh.
And by the time he came back around, I was like a rebellious adult.
I don't need you now, and I'm angry.
My relationship with my dad only gets better over the last 5 years. because I'm old, I've gotten over it. I lost my mom in 2016. So it's like, not only have you as a parent, I'm going to have to make you into the parent that I need. So, but again, I have a weird warped view. So Barone disagrees. I don't know if Naja agrees, but I don't know. I guess dads are supposed to build your character. Moms are supposed to nurture you.
Parents
and,
are, you know.
and that's kind of like the role.
It's the privilege of having both parents.
You get what I'm saying?
important.
Like, yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, that was definitely the roles in my family.
And if this is inappropriate to mention, and I'm thinking about this because I know you lost your mom.
Oh,
recently,
let's not talk. You got George Santos and Joe Francis, and you're talking about misappropriate.
You mentioned that your mother had passed, and I know that you just lost your dad. And so I just wanted to offer condolences and to see what, like, now that this has happened, you're just going through this huge life transition, these allegations, and you having to fix all of this stuff. How much more important is it, considering life looks way different now and you've just suffered this loss?
Well, I've just suffered this loss, but understand, let's address the allegations. Okay, they're not allegations from the hit piece. These are not allegations.
Okay.
These were allegations 25 years ago. And then they went to, in one case, the rape thing went to a grand jury. The grand jury watched the video evidence from the boss and made a decision not to indict me. Therefore, I was acquitted. Therefore, because of the Constitution, I can never be charged with that. And it didn't happen because the jury didn't believe. And after they watched it, they definitely didn't believe her. And now she says in this documentary, or she didn't appear. She said, oh, the charges were dropped. Bullshit. No, I was acquitted 25 years ago. You can't keep saying all this bullshit and then having, and then just saying the wrong resolution.
The times are changing and people are bending rules. And I guess, Joe, you're going to fall probably in that category, right?
I think I did win every single thing they mentioned, but they would mention it for 30 seconds at the end of the hit piece of the thing. And they would admit. And then because it was a federal jury of 8 women that totally unanimously acquitted me. And then she says, all these women jurors who acquitted him and unanimously found for Francis, they're despicable, uneducated women, and they just trashed the women. Then they trashed the jury.
Here's the new strategy, and I know this from fact. When the New York Times decided to do a piece on me, right? They went and got a lesbian writer and a gay writer from the Metro desk who don't cover politics and said, well, he's gay, so he's kind of like a little bulletproof. So we're going to do this through the vernacular of a gay man and woman. And that's how they're able to overcome the attacks on George Santos being a gay man. So I feel like because of the woman angle, putting a lesbian woman there who's probably super pro-woman and feminist, rah, kind of gives them that bulletproof cover. It's essentially they could have put Rachel Maddow to direct your documentary, and it would have been bulletproof of criticism. So that's the new angle when there's when they want to go hit piece and use it in the guises of either reporting or documentary. They bulletproof it with the authors, the producers, the writers, or whatever it is, and that's how they kind of get you. And it sucks. Yeah. It's weaponizing the game. But you did the brave choice. You went into the belly of the beast, and you chose fire, and you won. You won. Well, I did win. Self-represented in one case.
I will tell you. So I walk in that courtroom with my lawyer, and he says to me right before, he takes me in the conference room and says, "Hey, listen, I gotta go." And I'm like, "Oh, it's the first day of trial, so you can't do that." And he said, no, my dad died last night and I got to go bury him. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to ask for a continuance. And I said, well, Rick, you and I know that judge is not going to give me a continuance, because he goes, oh yeah, he will, because my dad died. I said, no, it's not going to happen. Then what? And he goes, well, you're a smart guy. And he hands me the book of federal procedure for Northern Florida. And he goes, you read this book and you can win this case. I mean, it's really easily winnable. And then
Did you have to fire him, or did he ask for dismissal?
Oh, no. Then he went in front of the court and he asked for the continuance when the court started from the federal judge. The federal judge said, no, this trial starts right now. Mr. Francis, are you ready to go? And I said, well, why? And he goes, well, you're pro se now. You're your own lawyer. And Mr. Bateman, you're excused, because he asked for that. And I said, Rick, you're going to do this to me. And then I said, Your Honor, I have nothing. I have no discovery material, nothing. So then I called two people. I called Lisa DeFore, my old assistant from LA that I put with the Kardashians after me for 2 years. And then I called my friend, Steph Watts, said he was in New York. I said, get down here to Florida right away. I'm my own lawyer and in a federal trial and with my life's on the line. And there was nobody who knew the case better. And I have an incredible legal acumen. And the thing is I have the truth on my side. So my feeling was, George, you can't fail if you have the truth on your side. Of course. So I went in and did a 14-day trial in front of 8 women. And we did this trial like all the way through. And like you said, George, I won. Unanimous verdict. And it didn't have to be unanimous. It only had to be majority. And I got a unanimous verdict from 8 really highly intelligent women who have now been shamed by this hit piece, which sucks because they just saw the truth. And there's nothing wrong with the truth, but the truth isn't good enough for somebody trying to slam you. And you know that, George, from personal experience. The salacious story is so much better. The story of
than the truth.
This bad politician, that's the best story in the world. And then, now we can talk about him being gay. Now we can talk about both. Now, these are just, and the government puts all those little words out there just to trigger the media and then pretends like they don't comment on anything. It's just a whole fierce game, but I beat it and I won. And I had a 99.7% chance of failing.
Well, it's 99.9%.
Wow.
And the fact that you without any...
Wait, what is their conviction rate? What is
99.9%? 0.1% is the
They don't lose.
Loss ratio. The fact that that's definitely a button, a medal of achievement to beat the DOJ. Remember,
it's a badge of honor.
The federal
14-day trial, and you managed to not lose your shirt and represent yourself and convince unanimously or the majority of the
unanimously.
Unanimous verdicts.
If you could aspire to be more like someone who you believe is like, oh, I feel like my life wasn't as inspiring as, who would that person be? Filling in the blank.
I mean, as far as full inspiration or as far as hacked with all
you can say
the
Hugh
trimmings.
Hefner for all I care, but
no, I don't want that life. No, I don't want that life. That's creepy for me. So that's why I got out of the business.
Think of a person. You're like, oh my God, I've lived the life. It's been fun. It's been wild. It's been ups and downs, but I quite haven't made it like to the point of. And then insert a name.
Oh, because there's nobody.
Impossible.
There's nobody there. It's impossible.
That's my point.
Look at my life.
You made my point. Who one ups you? I can't think of anybody.
No, and I love Elon, and he's the richest man in the world, and I've spent plenty of time with Elon, but he's living an interesting life now.
Oh, yeah.
I really think it's amazing.
You know what's the most interesting part of him for me was when all of a sudden the most watched trial, I think, in modern history, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and Elon Musk is involved somehow. I'm like, did he date her too?
He's everywhere.
Who has Elon Musk not dated? Right? I thought that was so amazing. I was just like, dude, this dude is so iconic. He manages to be in every point of conversation at this point on Earth.
It's great. It's unbelievable. It's great.
Joe, what the heck is day-to-day life like for you over there in Mexico? What do you do all day?
Well, I entertain a lot, but I usually wake up and this morning I ran 10 miles, and then I did weights, steam.
Oh, that's why you look so
pool,
good. Whatever. Whatever.
And take a ton of vitamins, drink a grain juice. And then start phone calls and things. And today I'm entertaining. So I do have people coming, but in a lot of days. And then I travel a lot. I try to travel around the world as much as possible.
Okay. What's your favorite place
life is
to go?
really quiet. My favorite is here, or I wouldn't be here. Honestly, I'd live wherever my favorite place to go is. But I
can't afford to live in my favorite place because it's
which is where
is it? Monte Carlo, Monaco.
Oh,
if I could, I'd just live at the Hotel de Paris and never leave. Just serve on me all day long. It's just so perfect. But again, whatever. Dreams are.
That's how my house is, though. My house is like that. But you would lose all your money downstairs in the casino.
So you still have allies, media allies.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a hated person, like by
Clearly
any
not.
means. That no, the hit piece done by people who are out of touch or whatever doesn't reflect, like, because they only got like 5% of the people that they called, because everybody else is like, who would call me and say, yeah, I said all these things. I said, what'd you say to them? This, that, and the other. And all the celebrities would ask me, do you want me to do this? And I said, no. Like Kim Kardashian called, no, absolutely not. You're going to do mine. And they're so stupid, because it's like, I'm like, you're not going to get anybody. And everybody else has NDAs and contracts. Even the people, there's like 2 people that talked that were just underlinks. Of course, we're going to sue them for breaking their contract. But it's like, that's who they got. Somebody that's never met me. You know, that is where.
Look, let me tell you this,
understand
Joe,
the girls
from
go
a
on.
personal
Sucks.
from a personal point of view here, and I say this because I'm blessed. No one in my family ever came out against me. No personal friend, no close circle friend, nobody in the inner circle of my politics, the inner circle of anything about me. The only people they managed to get was, for example, and I say this, and I'm going to steal your line, a little fat troll that worked with me 15 years ago. For 6 months in the same company, I never had a fraternization occasion with this girl.
Yeah.
We like saw each other, and all of a sudden she's the George Santos expert doing documentaries,
And you're like, I
talking
didn't
about
even
me.
interact with this
like
person.
first of all, you look a lot whiter than I last remember. Second of all, like, where's the glow up? 15 years later, there needs to be a glow up. And I'm like looking at myself, like I used to be busted looking back then, and I'm like, girl, you still look busted looking. Life has not been kind to you. So I get that. The revenge for me comes in the format of life, you know?
Yeah.
That's the best way to see it. So I get when you're saying that, and the where you're coming from, and the point of view you're sharing. So I think it's amusing. I think it's great to just have candid fucking crazy conversations like this.
Absolutely.
Why
Because
not?
Why not? You know, it's like,
yeah,
why like the last thing you're going to find me is being buttoned up all the way to the top and trying to be all formal, when the reality is it's all ugly. Look at Diddy. Diddy's gross. And look at all this stuff out there about him. You don't even come close to that, but they're trying to turn you into like Diddy and
him.
whatever. Like, it's like crazy. And all these years later, for something that adult women did out of their own volition. That's what bothers me with this.
That's what bothers you? Out of all the things. What about Joe, I got to take it there because.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So before I take it there and we talk about the women.
No, take it there. Let's go.
You and
Go.
Diddy were never
Let's go.
friends. You never attended a party. You guys never went to dinner. Did you go to a
Does
freak
everybody
off? Were
get
you
the
ever there?
Diddy comment?
We ask everybody the Diddy question now.
Yeah. Were you ever there?
At what?
Any of his parties?
How to freak off.
No, I've never been to a freak off, but
So no baby
I
oil?
was friends with Diddy in the days. No, but the funny thing I will
Your
side-
fingerprints
I will
are not
I'll
on
talk
baby
about
oil
Diddy.
bottles?
I'll talk about Diddy. But the side thing of that was I called my old lawyer, and I'm like, oh shit, when he got arrested, I'm like, nobody ever said, who was actually Diddy's lawyer too for a while until he switched lawyers, bad idea. And I said, you know what? I'm like, because the Girls Gone Wild, I think there was a year where we sponsored all these like oil wrestling competitions. So somewhere on an American Express Centurion Black card, there is a purchase for 1,000 bottles of baby oil on my credit card.
Joe
somewhere.
Francis bought 1,000 bottles of
I
baby
didn't
oil
bring that to my house.
Did you
I did that for
subsidize
Girls Gone
that for
Wild.
Diddy, the 1,000 bottles?
There's a connection here.
But then I was worried. I was like, George, could I get federally indicted for buying that for Girls Gone Wild?
I think that's the
Well, I
least-
mean,
I
if
can't
it's
believe he had it in
for,
his house.
but if it's for a specific, I mean, if you can prove the receivable for a specific production,
Yeah.
it's different. But no, to freakishly,
I didn't
walk
put it in my house, yeah.
to
Yeah.
freakishly walk into somebody's house, get raided with
And you know, when you think of-
2,000
well, he bought
bottles.
1,000, so he was 1,000 short.
and not in his house though. For a production value. I mean, production companies buy absurd things for various reasons. I mean, Food Network buys an absurd amount of cooking oil. That doesn't mean they're going to try to burn the whole country down, you know?
So
It's like, great
I
point.
also want to go, we got to go someplace that's low and dark because you do, I don't
Oh, wait,
know
we
what
haven't
these
finished this one though.
What, the Diddy
We haven't
thing?
finished this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
finish Diddy.
or we're done. Okay,
No, we're
I
done.
would never
'Cause you- like,
go
there's
to.
no
I
connection
just want
to
to
him.
clarify. I would never go to a freak off. And then I was friends with him way back, but like, since I was distant with him, I mean, I stopped being friends. And then one time, Quincy Jones and I, who were next door neighbors, and Quincy had a falling out with him. This was like maybe 10 years ago. And we tried to get into a Diddy party and they wouldn't allow Quincy because Quincy and Diddy. So we just left. So thank God.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
They say rejection is protection.
We got denied at the door, thank God, because of Quincy's rift with and Quincy died a few weeks ago. With Quincy's rift with him. What?
So,
She said rejection is protection. I said I should have accepted my first campaign loss and not run a second time. The signs are all there. Gee, Naja, why didn't I meet you 4 years ago?
I know, 'cause I would have wanted you to run. I would have. So, I gotta ask because there's some serious, really. A lot of the allegations are you. Some seem very absurd. You know, there's always a little truth mixed in with fact. Like, okay, you got.
Is there? Hold on. I will argue that because I do not agree. There was always truth with fact because people can come out and absolutely make a bold-faced lie.
True.
Saying I molested my children. Ask my children. I've never even yelled at my children or used a swear word. I have used more profanity on the course of this show than ever in the lifetime of my child. You know what I'm saying? My child has never even heard me yell.
So, Naja, so to answer your question in a sense,
I didn't have a question. I didn't ask a question yet.
I know the question, but with the statement you made, when somebody's experiencing a full out pile on, which I did, it opens a window of opportunity because my credibility is shot. His is in the same vernacular now. So when you're in that position, it opens a very weird vortex of opportunity for a pile-on. And when a pile-on occurs, people can make things up, poorly, shoddily source it, not even source it at all. You know why?
And it sounds
if
believable.
It's been said, this is true about George Santos or Joe Francis. I guess this is too. Yeah. And that's where the truth, I believe, gets buried by just people wanting 15 minutes, a pound of flesh, money, fame.
Yeah, but George, I think the difference is with you. Okay,
I came out of nowhere.
It happened in 2000. It came out of nowhere, and it happened in 2023. In a hostile environment, a political persecution in a very hostile environment, right? And with me, everything mentioned happened 25 years ago and already went through that process. So there's no payoff. But I get what you're saying. They've created this whole thing. And by the way, if I was going to trial, I'd be convicted based on their hit piece. And that's unfortunate. And that's exactly what you said is how it works. But Naja mentioned Diddy. And the thing is like, look, I don't want to defend him at all because I'm not getting in that at all. I don't want to be near that.
I'm not your lawyer, but I advise you to not defend P. Diddy.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to
Then you're going to put yourself on my aim. So you don't want me on X going at you.
But it's like, at least like give the guy, let him have a defense, like give him bail or something or whatever. Like let him put an ankle monitor.
If you give him bail, he'll vanish like Houdini.
Really?
Like he probably has Atlantis build under the Hudson River ready for him to live under. Like stop. Like the dude has a lot of money. Stop.
Yeah.
When is your documentary coming out, Joe?
I don't know because that's up to them, but I think it will be probably accelerated now.
You're in post-production already, I'm assuming, right?
No, we're in production. We're shooting.
Oh, you're shooting.
We're shooting. Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing. And you're all coming down there and you're shooting down there. And I'm assuming you have a lot of people doing, supportive speaking in the doc for you.
Yeah. But you know what, George and Naja, I want not just tell the truth. The truth is so much of a better story. Like I'm not a choir boy. I wasn't selling Bibles and I know that. And I don't give a shit, but I asked ChatGPT, well, how would you fix the reputation of Joe Francis knowing that the allegations that have been made out there and are on the internet are false? And it's a tough question even for AI. I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, I've asked ChatGPT, how do we fix George Santos' reputation with everything that's available on the web? And it gives me an error message, which I'm not kidding.
No way.
Do it. Go home and do it.
I'm gonna do it.
It gave me an error message.
I'm gonna look for one for you and Joe.
It gave me an error message, and then when you get more specific, with your question and say, what path would you suggest based on information on the web that George Santos can pursue to fix his reputation? Then it gives you like a mea culpa would be a great start, but maybe this is a little too late. Granted that the allegations were made blah, blah, blah time. So, but it gives you more, but you got to be way more specific with it. So it's kind of funny. I want to do this before we go to something that we like to do when we wrap up, which is two truths and a lie. But before we go there, okay, because I know you're prepared, I want to ask you, you were kidnapped, like full-blown kidnapped, tied, beat down, and recorded, and all these crazy things being said to you. During that experience, what went through your head? How do you come back from that? Because that, like, I can't imagine me being tied up, all beat up, and people saying they were going to rape me. Like, what do you do?
And recorded and extorted.
And recording that. Well,
let me
clarify
that
story.
So all right, this perpetrator broke in my house and to rob it and extort me. This guy robbed my entire Picasso collection. It ended up taking me tied in the trunk of my Bentley and bound in the trunk. But before he made this videotape. Now, sorry, George, I wasn't naked in the video like people have reported. This guy was just a cold-blooded, killer. He had killed, and I found this out through the prosecution years later. He had killed 2 Korean shopkeepers at point blank range as a minor and got out.
He was a killer.
He was a killer.
Yeah.
Plenty
And
of killers
he got
going around.
out, and then he did this, and then he did another 13 years. Now, what he did do was put a gun to my head and a videotape and place a dildo and say, this is going into your ass if you don't say, my name is Joe Francis and I love Boys Gone Wild. And that's what I had to say 3 times. But
I mean, you loved it. It was your product. I mean, I think it's so silly to even make you say that. Like, of course.
Guys Gone Wild. I'm sorry, Guys Gone Wild. So it was a gay thing. So they thought that they could extort me, that I wasn't going to go to the police because they were extorting me that I was gay. And I'm like, number one, I love gay people, but I'm not gay. So
it's amazing.
And they thought that it would bring down my whole career. So they did this video. And they stole all my Picassos, all the whatever,
Did you ever
my
recover
stuff
your
in my
Picassos?
house. I recovered 1 from the guy's place when he was arrested. Yeah, 1.
They sold them all, black market.
Did they black market sell your Picassos?
Of course, but
We
you're
should
able to track a lot of that. No, I have.
You probably know where they're hanging at this point, and you can't do much about it.
No, insurance covers those things for value. For the value you have it appraised for.
But it's irreplaceable though. It's not like Picasso's around painting you more paintings, right? So, so Joe, look, you're such a delight. It's like I actually want to have the opportunity to meet you in person because you're so interesting. You're so fun. You're big, larger than life. I live life in a weird way of like I look at life through a positive lens at all times, even at the shittiest moments. I always try to take a laugh at it and be like, you know what? If you can't make fun of yourself, like, who else can you make fun of? But
why? Yeah, why live?
But let's get to this. 2 truths.
And by the way, can I tell you?
Go ahead.
I think you are amazing.
Thank you.
I see your plight, and I see you fighting through it. And by the way, I see you when you come out of that courthouse. I know how it feels.
Yeah.
When you get booked, I know how it feels, and the frustration and. And your lawyers are telling you not to say anything and you have to let it go. And I think that works for you. Honestly, I think George, it's like, it's you.
I definitely don't miss going to court. Let's just put it that way. But
when is your sentencing? Isn't it coming up in a week or so?
No, it's in February. So we have a couple of weeks ahead of us. But
and how do you feel about it right now?
I don't know. You know what I feel about? I feel I wanna figure out your 2 truths and a lie. How about that? So come on, lay it bare on me and Naja Hall what your 2 truths and a lie are.
Okay. I have stayed with Paris Hilton on the internet. I had a one-time intimate hookup with John Travolta, but nothing big. And I dated Kourtney Kardashian.
What do
Okay.
you think, Naja?
He loves women, so I'm not seeing almost a
He
tryst
hooked up with John Travolta, in my opinion. What's your, like? I really believe
say
that.
because I don't know which one of the Kardashians, but I think it's on record that he dated or had a thing with one. I just don't know which one.
I think it's Chloe. Baron, do you have an opinion there?
Oh, you're not allowed to do that. I mean, come on.
I know it's like
Why don't you just call
He
your
weighs
dad
in
or
from time
Google
to
it?
time. Hold on. Come
Okay,
on, bro.
Is this
my
your
lie
game
is
show?
Travolta.
Like, oh my God, I want to judge.
I know.
Joe, I don't have the facts. And
You
I am on
can't
your
cheat at this
side.
age,
He's cheating.
Congressman.
You
I
hear
mean,
him.
he's cheating at Two Truths and a Lie on a show called Pants on Fire.
bow out.
George Santos, you're treating this.
Okay,
this
all right.
is-
What's your take,
Oh my
Naja?
This
God.
is sacrosanct, George.
Joe.
Hold on. No. We're going to keep it to
Exclusive
just
interview.
the two of us.
This
Okay.
is not the House of Representatives. You can't just shit on this and treat it like
Okay.
it's the House
love
of
this
Representatives, like with
Joe,
a bunch of
I'm gonna
jokers.
say
This is a Joe Francis interview,
Joe.
and it deserves. Excuse me. Do you think it deserves? I mean, this. Is
I think that we
sacrosanct.
deserve. I deserve to say
We're
my
going to
lie.
stick it just to the two of us.
So-
What is it?
Joe, I'm gonna say you did not have a thing romantically, even an almost thing with Travolta. I'm gonna say that's the lie.
So I think it's There's No Tape with Paris Hilton. Which one is it? What's the lie?
Naja's right.
yes.
What? Jesus, that's two for Naja. Good.
Now you
good
gotta
on
fly me to
girl.
Mexico. Yes, I like it.
Yes, you win a trip. Or
You know what's
Paris
crazy?
Like a BAT. I'm like, wait.
I love Paris Hilton. Like she's evolved so much from a lot of the messy stuff, and she's like one of my favorite people.
She's a mom now.
She's
grown,
not only
she's
that, she's just that she advocates in Congress. She's amazing. But anyway,
I did not want that tape to be released, and she didn't pay for the storage bill on her storage thing, and then they auctioned it off, and some guy bought it and then owned it and then put it all, like, sold it all on the internet. She called me at my house, and I said, "Oh, come on, all of this stuff too." And she's like, "Yeah, but honey, maybe we should calm down with the lawyers." She's like, "Just let it go." And I'm like, "All right."
well, Joe, let me say, I got to tell you, we're obviously ran out of time here. Thank you for coming on. This was like so entertaining. This was so fun. You're one hell of a party time, and
Yeah.
partying with you in Mexico must be very interesting. And I will say it is now on my to-do list, and I do want to check it off my bucket list. So we're definitely going to do that one day. But thank you so much for coming on Pants on Fire with George Santos, and we had a great time having you on.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Naja. I had an amazing time.
Naja.
Okay, George. Can I go or you want to go? Because
Ladies first.
Joe invited us to Mexico to his 45,000 square foot compound, and he didn't tell us that. I saw it on the quote unquote hit piece that it was like this huge compound that he lives on over there. So he invited us. Are you actually going to go? Would you go?
I mean, if the judge lets me travel to Mexico, I would probably go.
Oh, you can't.
I mean, I have to ask for permission. It's a process.
Okay,
it's not
okay.
like I can't. I just have to.
Would it be smart or dumb based on what we've learned about Joe for
I
me
mean-
to go for him, to take him up on the offer to get down there?
You're in the up and up. I think.
You think I'd be safe around Joe Francis?
Come on, say
Answer the question.
It's not like I don't think he's a predator.
Okay.
I definitely think he said he expressed his love for women, especially naked women. So I would bring your husband if I were you. How about that? That's the safest bet for you, Ms.
That
Hall.
interview was bananas. It was wild.
I think I
don't know
met
how
my
to-
match in the ADD world. I think I met my match.
Okay.
I will say this, though. I learned a lot. As much as that was a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, it was a lot. Like, I mean, like he said himself, he wasn't
think
a
he's
choir boy
likable?
and he wasn't selling Bibles.
Is he likable?
I think he is. He's charismatic. He's funny.
Would you
And
be friends in real life with him?
I'm friends with anyone who's just respectful to me. I don't judge people by their past
Accusations.
or accusations. I judge people by how I interact with them, and that's how I would really appreciate people to judge me. I give that approach. I'm not judgy. I mean, yeah, I'm catty. I'm gay. Like I'll read a bitch's dress down for filth because that's what I like to do. But like when it comes to like, I don't want to demean your character or you as a person just because of
What people
whatever's
say.
on the news. I want to get to know you.
Okay.
Like and
So a short answer,
you
yes.
afforded me that. So think about that. Naja, let's be, what did you think about Joe? Like,
I don't know if he's gonna get reunified with his kids, but I hope that all of his actions that he commits until those girls call him and say, "Hey, Dad, we need you, we love you, we hate you, we want the chance to hear what you have to say." I hope he makes all of the things right. The name calling, I was not a fan of, so it was pretty harmful language. It was harmful.
okay,
language
it was
when you
harsh. I don't think harmful. I think it was pointed language, right?
I mean, but I also understand that
But
he
that's
feels
your
very
opinion, so I
passionate
respect it,
about this particular group because they did attack him. So I wouldn't have great things to say about people that attack me. Would I go to his house in Mexico? Well, no, I wouldn't go. But if
I
he,
would totally, just for the experience.
I would
like
hang
crazy.
out with him in Harlem. With a group of people, but Joe is all over the place. Joe, you know you crazy. Joe, you know you are a hot mess. Joe enjoys life.
Yeah, he
He's a
does.
lot. And I think at this point that I'm in life, I like quiet, I like easy, I like wine. Joe's a cocaine
You
dude.
like
I like wine.
you like-
Joe is like here, and I'm like, I'm here.
That's
So he's a
allegedly,
lot.
and that's a hot take.
Is it alleged, Joe? Joe, you crazy as hell, and you know it.
You know what? I'll give you your your opinion. I mean, I would definitely go to Mexico just for the experience and be able to tell, like, I hung out with Joe Francis, how crazy that was, you know. But look, we're
And
gonna
you don't have any titties to show him, so.
True, so I'm safe. But I'll preface this with this. I am so excited to be able to bring these controversial figures, not so popular figures, some very popular figures, or whoever. Give everybody a voice, have conversation, make life interesting. And that's what we're doing here. So thank you so much, Naja, for one more week of, you know, accomplishing Pants on Fire with George Santos. And we'll see you next time. And I hope that you're enjoying what you're listening to. And I hope you enjoyed this episode because it was informative. It definitely educates an entire generation who has no clue what we were talking about. Now, I mean, I hate to see your Google search, but thanks for joining us.
Liar, liar, pants on